Hello everyone, Beefaroni here, back with another chapter in the Lost Ark Beginner series. Before I go into this video, I wanted to thank everyone for the support and kind words after my first episode. Today, we'll be going over the Guardian raids and briefly touch on the tower, both essential parts to gearing up your new level 50 character. I'll also show you how to advance your gear through the gear recycling system. With these tips, hopefully you'll save yourself some time, money, and crafting materials as you push your gear score higher. Be sure to check out my first video where I covered what to do as a fresh level 50. It covers everything about Chaos Dungeons and the beginning steps for upgrading your gear. You can find the link in the description below. The first floor of the tower starts at a recommended gear score level of 302. You will be rewarded with a sack of emerald shards, which you will need to temper your equipment for upgrades. The higher that you climb in the tower, the more rewards you can obtain. These rewards range from tickets for endgame dungeons, accessories, crafting materials, and most importantly, skill potions, which can be obtained at floor 25 and 50. These potions permanently unlock for all characters on your account. The top left corner will show you what is required of you to complete the floor. Upon completion of the floor, you can run up the stairs to continue to the next level and tackle the next challenge, or you can click the complete button if you'd like to stop and pursue other activities. In this video, we've completed a few levels of the tower and move on to the Guardian raids. However, if you feel confident enough, you can absolutely keep pushing through the tower and collecting more rewards. Be sure that your item level is high enough to tackle the upper floors as it gets progressively more difficult. The Guardian raids will reward you with accessories as well as crafting materials, cards, engraving books, and skill runes. We are going to focus on the first tier of Guardian raids. While it's absolutely possible to defeat these Guardians solo with sufficient gear score and engravings, I would highly recommend that you bring a friend or find a group using the party finder if this is your first time fighting these bosses. Fighting these solo can require more knowledge of mechanics, which makes the fight a bit more difficult. Something to take note of, in this video, we are fighting a nerfed version of the Guardians, because every time they release a new tier of Guardians, the difficulty of the previous tier is lowered as a catch-up mechanic. The first Guardian is Ernal, with a recommended gear score of 302. When you enter the map, you will have to seek out the Guardian. The use of consumable items can help you locate it much more quickly. You should absolutely be saving your signal flares for these Guardian raids. There is a 20-minute time limit on the encounter, so time is valuable as you're up against the clock. These signal flares are rewards from various chests you will receive from leveling up, or in your Founders Pack chests. They can also be crafted or purchased from other players in the auction house. While this is one of the easiest Guardians, it is still among the hardest encounters you have faced up until this point. Here are some tips to help you achieve your first victory at Guardian raids. Here we can see that he stands still and does 2 clawing attacks in front of him. This is a very slow attack and can easily be avoided by circling around and attacking him from the side or from behind. Be ready for a lunge attack that will knock you up if it connects. Circling around him while attacking is still your best defense. The third attack that we see is a series of clawing attacks followed by a ground slam. The ground slam element will knock you into the air. Occasionally, you will see a Guardian turn blue. This is your opportunity to use a counter attack skill. When you see the blue flash, you have a split second to prepare and use your counter attack. When he rears up and roars, glowing red, he is enraging. While enraged, all of his attacks become stronger and slightly modified. The lunge attack from earlier now also has a series of clawing attacks. If the third claw hits you, you will get knocked up. When you see Ernal spawn a fireball in front of him, try to quickly shift to his sides. He will pull it in and whip it over his head to land behind him. By standing on his sides, you will easily avoid the damage. You may have noticed by now that these Guardians do not have a health bar or an impairment bar. When you do manage to impair him, you'll have a few seconds to do as much burst damage as possible. After a period of time, the boss may disappear from the area you are fighting in. You then will have to either use another signal flare to find out the exact location, or you'll just need to run around like I did to find the new hiding spot. Unfortunately, in this video I did not have any signal flares, so I have to run around and hope to find him quickly. You can optionally use an item called Pheromone Bombs while the boss is invulnerable to keep the Guardian in the same spot, but these can be expensive and should be saved for more difficult maps. There are 2 attacks that were not pictured in this video. The first, he will summon a fireball behind him, pull it close to his backside, and then slam it over his head in front of him. The second attack will show him charging up, the ground around him will begin to fissure. If you do not use enough impairment attacks, he will cast an AoE spell that will reduce your movement speed. And there you have it, the first Guardian is defeated. As you can see, having the Guardian Soul checkbox ticked upon entering, we are able to loot the Guardian's Soul, which looks like a glowing blue orb. Looting the Guardian's Soul is how you obtain the loot listed in the Guardian window outlined at the beginning of this clip. Please note that there are 2 Guardian Souls in this clip because of our relaxation bonus. This is a bonus granted if you skip a day of doing your daily content. You are able to collect Guardian Souls 2 times per day. Between fighting Ernal and advancing to Lumaris, you will need to upgrade your gear a bit. In the previous video, I advised against attacking content if your gear score does not at least match the recommended gear score level. This remains true against these guardians. In this video, I returned to the tower, and I also did some more Chaos Dungeon off camera to obtain enough crafting materials to boost my gear score and obtain purple items. Now, I will discuss gear recycling, which will allow you to transfer the existing power level on your gear to new items. For all items that have the same base gear score level, it's a 1-to-1 ratio. As you can see here, we have obtained a wide variety of purple items. My best advice is to look at the items to see which one has the highest grade. I would not worry too much about the tripods on the gear at this point, because you will be replacing these items in short order. When selecting your new item, it will show you all supporting materials on the right hand side. In this case, it's showing the level 6 blue staff that we've been using up until this point. If we select this, you can now see that it highlights the result of recycling. Our level 1 purple item is going to absorb the 6 levels that we previously had on our blue item. We will repeat this process for every purple item we have picked up from our Chaos Dungeon. Since blue and purple gear both have an item level of 302, there will be no penalty for recycling. A blue to purple transfer will always result in the same level, but transferring to a higher gear, like yellow, legendary, orange, artifact, will decrease the item's enchantment level while keeping the gear score. Recycling your blue or purple plus 15 item into a yellow item will give you a new score of plus 6. Similarly, upgrading a yellow plus 15 item into an orange item will make your orange item plus 6. From here, we will take a few steps southwest and visit the Ability Stone vendor. Here we can work on crafting a higher tier Ability Stone that will grant us a higher tier of Vitality, giving us a bigger health boost. Let's fast forward right to the second Guardian, Lumaris. We have a recommended gear score of 325 for this encounter. Just like with the previous Guardian, you will need to run around and locate him. If you have a signal flare, you can choose to use it, but remember that these are a limited item and will cost gold to purchase more from the trading post, or you will have to spend time upgrading your estate to be able to craft them for yourself. If you purchase the Founders Pack, some of these can be found in one of the chests. Straight away, we can see that Lumaris turns blue and lunges forward. Anytime a Guardian turns blue, you have up to a 1-second window to use any counter ability that you might have. The next attack that we see is a cone-shaped breath attack. This is fairly easy to avoid. When Lumaris stands still for a second, he'll perform a pulsing AoE attack with a slice at his rear, highlighted in this video. That is the safe place to stand. Each pulse of the AoE has a bigger radius, so make sure you are able to get into that safe zone behind him and do as much burst DPS damage as possible. While I did not slow down the video for it, you can notice that Lumaris does a single swipe attack as well as a triple swipe attack, which is followed by a conal breath attack. On occasion, he will rear up and slam his front paws down. After doing this, geysers will appear at random. These will knock you back if they hit you and interrupt any channeling skills you may be using. Another Guardian down. Here, you can see that we have Guardian Souls activated for this encounter, so we are able to loot 2 more Guardian Orbs. The third Guardian is Legoros of Frost, with a gear score requirement of 355. As seen here, he will jump at the person who he is currently aggroed on. When he leaves the ground, you should begin running and try to dodge away from him if you see the projection showing that he is about to land on top of you. An alternative to the single jump attack, he will jump towards the person who he is aggroed on and then continue to jump a few more times. Just keep moving to avoid getting landed on. Here we can see Legoros take a quick backstep and follow it up with a breath attack. Be ready for a series of claw attacks while he advances in a straight line. If possible, just circle around and try to deal as much burst damage as possible from the sides or behind. Here we can see Legoros do 3 charge attacks in quick succession. They aren't always paired like this, but note that he is flashing blue, which means that you can counter this attack. Fast forwarding to the final Guardian, Beretus. His recommended gear score is 385. Because this is the last Guardian of the first tier, you can expect this to be the most complicated of the Guardians. A note for future Guardian fights, the last Guardian of each tier is usually the most difficult one. Beretus is armed with a larger array of attacks that are more deadly than the previous 3 Guardians. As outlined earlier in the video, Beretus also drops legendary quality accessories. On my way to find Beretus in the encounter, I slowed down for a second to clear some of the trash mobs. As soon as I got close to the boss, I was immediately hit with the first ability. Beretus will spit ice orbs in front of him. These will momentarily stun you, but the damage that they do is minor. Unfortunately, the damage from this breath attack is not so minor. Note that this is a cone-shaped attack, so if you see him taking a deep breath, try to get to his sides to avoid getting knocked up. Be careful not to get too close to his tail, because as you can see here, I fell victim to the clockwise tail swipe. This is a low damage attack, but it does stun you. While I was stunned, Beretus tried to do a jump attack, where he will land on top of you. Luckily, I was able to get away at the very last second with a dodge. Here we can see the charge attack. It is a very slow charge, so you should be able to get out of the way. On occasion, the boss will roar and have his edges outlined in red. This is your indication that he is enraged. At around 70% health, Beretus will tunnel into the ice and run away. He will do this again at 40% health. You can use him running away to get an idea of how far into the encounter you are. At around 25% health, the boss will enter his third phase and his attacks will become enhanced. Here we can see the Ice Orb attack now spits multiple projectiles. The last combination of attacks from Beretus is the Frost Bombs, which greatly increase your chance of being grabbed. I decided to end my flawless run by standing in this Frost Bomb attack to showcase what kind of damage Beretus can do if you are frozen, grabbed, and tossed around like a ragdoll. If you are grabbed, your teammates can use impairment attacks to stagger Beretus before you meet the same fate I did. Luckily, you can see what dying looks like and what options you have after death. You can use a feather and stand up in your place, or you can return to the starting area where you can enter the rest circle and regain any consumables you have used thus far. To recap, the Guardians are your best way to obtain accessories. Remember that accessories are how you get engravings for your character. It's also the only way to obtain a tradable version of some crafting materials that can be sold to other players for a good amount of gold. The first tier of Guardian fights are pretty well balanced to help acclimate you to the endgame. I would suggest bringing a friend or using the match option, otherwise every attack the boss does is targeted on you and you alone. You are able to collect Guardian Souls twice per day, and this is how you are able to collect the greater portion of the boss drops that you see on the Guardian board. The tower is a great side activity that will allow you to collect extra crafting materials to upgrade your gear and, more importantly, skill point potions. Do not neglect your tower, because those skill points are few and far between at the endgame. You can check the item codex for a list of all skill point potions and where to obtain them. Recycling your gear is a must. It saves you time and crafting materials. There really isn't a good reason to keep your low level equipment, so don't be afraid to recycle it to help boost your newest drops. Make sure you are running your 2 Chaos dungeons as frequently as possible, because those will still be the driving force for your gear progression. By the time you are fighting Beretus, you should be in legendary tier gear. In the next video, I'll be going over tripods in detail, so make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel so you receive the alerts when the next video goes live. If you have any questions, you can feel free to swing by my Twitch stream, link in the description below.